kids out of control? Let's talk about that when we come back. Hi, I'm Rob Bell, and this is Rob's Rant. Are our kids out of control? I saw something on the news last week here in Philadelphia where there was a adult with about 3 young kids on the subway, and they were allegedly using expletives and taunting and, aggressively coming towards another adult in a manner that was, as he perceived it, very threatening. And obviously somebody on the subway videotaped it. We live in the age now where people videotape everything. And the videotape found its way to the news. And, the news being the news and loving sensationalism, broadcasted it over the nightly news with the caption of saying, "These kids are out of control and they need counseling. So if anyone knows who these kids are, please contact the Philadelphia police and the SEPTA police so that we can identify these children and get them some counseling." Well, as it turned out, the person that the kids were being aggressive towards was a man who initially was being aggressive towards them and saying some things to them and the woman that they were with. And as a result, they were reacting as best they could to try to defend themselves and to try to defend the person that was with them. So the news, as usual, jumped the gun and, broadcasted a situation that was not as perceived. So I go back to my original question. Are kids out of control? Because contrast to that, there are kids in our public schools who are almost getting into a fight every day. And obviously the news broadcasts that. There are kids in the neighborhood who get on social media and conduct these mob scenes downtown and meet up in one central location and kind of, go crazy and run rampant in downtown Philadelphia, which is one of the locations that they usually congregate in. While you're traveling throughout your respective cities and malls and neighborhoods and all the places that you go, I'm sure that you see young people conducting themselves in some negative ways. I know when I used to use public transportation in Philadelphia and catch the bus, I dreaded getting on the bus when it was time for the schools to let out, because the young people that traveled on the subway, on the bus, on the trolley, on the L were definitely out of control. And if they are kind of not even paying attention to the other people that's surrounding them, especially the adults, they use foul language, they push people, they get into fights, they conduct themselves in a very, very negative manner, and they don't even care. But the crazy part about that is, I would venture to say that if you follow about 80% of these kids back home, they don't come from homes like that. Their parents are teaching them how to be decent people. Their parents are working hard, coming home, teaching these kids morals, and getting them to understand that that is not the way you act in public. And I would further like to say that it's probably the peer pressure that these kids have to deal with on a daily basis that kind of push them in the direction that they go in regarding their behavior. Now, I'm not saying that that happens with all of the kids, because we do have some kids out here that are just simply out of control and they can care less about how other people feel about it. And if you follow some of those kids home, you can probably see where it comes from, because they are not living in the best of situations themselves. But, as an adult who lives in a major city and having to deal with young people, it sometimes is a bit disturbing as to how they are conducting themselves. Now, personally, I've worked in my career in a lot of youth programs, and I've had an opportunity to work with and deal with a lot of young people, and I've had some relative success in terms of how to teach young people how to conduct themselves in public settings, how to conduct themselves, period, in order for them to be quote unquote successful people when they get into the world of work. And it's worked fairly well. So I asked you, is it a matter of getting kids into situations where we have to, for lack of a better word, train them how to be productive citizens? Is it our responsibility to get to their parents and make their parents understand that they have to be better parents and helping teach their young people how to be productive citizens? Is it the school's responsibility to teach young people how to control themselves and be productive citizens? Whose responsibility is it? Leave your comments in the comments section and let us know what you think in terms of how kids react and how they are acting out there in terms of, whose responsibility it should be and making sure that they do the things that they need to do in order to be looked at in a positive light. This is Rob Bell, and this is Rob's Rant.